My name is Alastair and I'm 42 years old. I was diagnosed about 2.5 years ago on St Patrick's Day by an Irish nurse. The irony was not lost on me. So relatively late diagnosis. I was diagnosed when I was 38, he says, doing the maths. I think around my own diagnosis, what happened was I survived the 80s and the 90s when there was all that messaging around don't die of ignorance. And I think there's a whole generation of gay men that are diagnosing in their late 30s that, you know, lived through that experience. And I think it forged a whole, in some ways, generation of sexual dysfunction, if you like, because people were kind of, you know, adopting behaviours or whatever that was what it was as, you know, survival strategies because of fear, because of how the messages hit. The thing that was unnerving for me, probably more than me accepting that diagnosis, was how am I going to disclose to other people? Not so much what will they think, because, you know, I think being a gay man, you know, and having come out once with that, it was like you kind of, you know, I'm gay, deal with it. But coming out with HIV, it was like people in my world didn't have the resources or the information to accept that diagnosis the way that I had, perhaps because I'd been around HIV with gay men. So, like the idea of my brother in Glasgow, you know, sort of pretty standard paint on decorator from Glasgow, where would he go to get the information? My brother's 39, so he's 3 years younger than me. And, you know, he's been with his partner for 14 years. We're very, very close. So for me, it was important that I didn't have that as a kind of barrier, really, you know. So I told him that was positive, and he said to me, so, you know, this is serious. Are you going to die from this? And I said, well, I hope no. He said, no, but people die from AIDS. I said, they do. I said, but I don't have AIDS, I've got HIV. There's a huge difference. 3 of my very, very close friends have just kind of disappeared from my dinner table. And I think, you know, I mean, God love them, you know, they're coping with it as well, you know, but I think there was a loss of respect. I think there was a fear that, oh my God, that could have been me, to be honest as well. But I think, you know, getting HIV in your late 30s when you've survived the messaging that happened in the 80s and the 90s is something that causes a lot of judgments. And when I was diagnosed with co-infection with hepatitis C. That lovely double whammy. And I think there's huge judgments as well from people who are living with HIV with regards to people who are living with co-infection. It's like, you get HIV, well, how did you get hep C? Well, the reasons and how is a whole different story. The thing that's huge about HIV, I think, is around disclosure. You know, I think it's appropriate to disclose to somebody if you're going to, you know, get into a sexually intimate relationship with them. It's a case of finding strategies to do that. I choose to be honest. I think for me it's about just managing how I engage with other people sexually. And I think a lot of people, myself included, it would be easier if I am going to go into a relationship to be with somebody who's positive, because you don't have to navigate that whole territory around how you do it. You know, I mean, do you disclose before you kiss? Do you disclose after the first date? Do you disclose before you have sex? When is the moment when you go to that, I've got something to tell you?